Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Vaughn from How She Got There, a Next In podcast, and my guest today is Jill Anderson. Now, Jill is from Edward Jones, where she's a general partner leading software infrastructure. Hi, Jill. How are you?
Hey, Jamie, I'm great. So excited to be here with you today.
Oh, good. I'm really, really glad. Now, everyone, I got to see Jill speak in Nashville a couple of months ago at the Girls in Tech conference. Unbelievably inspired by her. And actually, the people that were with me were like, you have to get her for your podcast. You have to get her on. So I reached out and we were finally able to schedule time that both of us could meet and do this. And I really want you to hear her story. So, Jill, first question I always ask is, where did you grow up and what did you think you were going to be when you grew up?
Yeah, I actually grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, not too far from Nashville. I'm a product of the public school system there, which I attended a long time ago. And I'm not really sure I ever had a plan. Although my parents would tell you that when I was young, real young, I used to always like to stomp around in their big dress shoes, both my mom's and my dad's. And I always said that I wanted to carry a briefcase for some reason in my perfect job. I was in school way before the internet, and I was laughing with a friend of mine earlier this week. You know, I just don't think it was as easy to learn about careers back then like it is today. I think our counselors used to have like books in their office that you could look at, but nobody did that. And I think so many of my friends either just followed in the footsteps of their parents or family member, or they just sort of fell into something. My father studied math and physics in college, and he was actually working in what was called data processing way back then, way before it was something you could study in school, way before we started calling it IT. I think he instilled in me the love of math. He was always interested in logic puzzles, and he would bring those home to play with. And I really enjoyed math. The physics part, not so much. And in high school, I did take a lot of math courses. And at one point I thought, well, maybe I'll be a math major in college, but I didn't really know what I was going to do with that. But it was also around that time that I learned in high school about how much I like to write. And I was on the yearbook staff. And I guess that sort of led me to believe that maybe journalism was my calling. And I thought I might either become sort of magazine editor or maybe even write the next great American novel or something. And it's fun because I ran around with a group of kids, and some of my guy friends that I know in high school knew they wanted to go down that computer route. I can tell you that never crossed my mind as something I would do. And maybe I thought it was like a guy thing or something. I'm not really sure, but it never crossed my mind to do that.
So I can tell you, I took a computer programming class in high school and hated it. And my best friend's little brother was in my class, and he loved it. And he's now a coder for the Navy. Yeah. And I credit that because I let him do all my work. So
and you don't let him forget it, right?
I don't let him forget it. But it's so funny. It's like, you have your career because I let you do all that work in Mr. Day's class, and it just prepared you for it. Yeah. But I can remember the first time I went on the internet was my first week in college. It wasn't something that was accessible. And now telling, my nieces or even the kids that I work with now, that they're blown away by the fact that it wasn't part of our lives. You never really thought of it as an option. And now, yeah, I know it's absolutely amazing how much the world has changed even in the last 20 years.
And just opened up the possibilities to learn about different things. Yeah, incredible. How did we ever live without it, for sure?
Yeah. So tell me about college. Where did you go and what did you end up studying? How did that lead you into a career in tech?
Yeah, sure. So this is kind of interesting, right? I decided to go to the University of Missouri because it's a renowned journalism school. In fact, I think I read earlier this week it was the first one in the world. But anyway, I wanted to be a journalism major, right? So that was a good school to go to, and I started down that route. My parents were always big supporters, and anything you want to do, you can do, sort of thing, which is great. I do think my dad in particular, though, was probably a little disappointed that I didn't take a more science type of route. They didn't call things STEM back then. It was science or non-science fields. And he, probably around my freshman, sophomore year, as I'm going down taking these courses in journalism, he kind of encouraged me that if I had the opportunity, I should take a programming class as an elective, just to try it. And again, he wasn't going to push me into any kind of career. He wanted me to do my own thing. And while I would say encouraging me wasn't really pushing, it did get to the point where he was kind of nagging a little bit. And I ignored that for a long time. And then finally, I took a programming class. I honestly, just to get him off my back. Thought I would hate it, didn't want to do it, did it anyway. I think it was a Fortran programming class, but I'm not really sure it was that long ago. But anyway, I took one class, I was hooked. I just started taking more and more from that curriculum, which didn't really align very well with your journalism classes. I eventually just changed my major to computer science.
Wow. Wow. I was a journalism major too. I couldn't have imagined changing over there to computer sciences.
Well, they're actually different, right? Different.
Yeah, so yeah, you have to have a mind for each one. You
Right.
know, it's like you have to access a different part of how your brain's going to work to make those things work for you in life. So that's pretty amazing. So how did you end up going from school and ending up at Edward Jones?
Yeah, I would say certainly with that computer science degree, I just kind of had that more traditional entry into technology. I did a summer internship at a company called McDonnell Douglas here in St. Louis. It's now part of the Boeing company. And again, you signed up to be an intern. They just assigned you into the role that you were going to be in, and they put me into a role that was really kind of more that infrastructure type, that back end, where I learned systems programming type of work in a language called assembler, and we were actually programming on mainframes back there.
Wow.
And in fact, I was trying to remember, my first assignment was to code like a storage back-end system. And it's so funny to think that, back in the day, the types of things that companies had to build for themselves, things that we would just buy off the shelf today or use a cloud provider, for instance, to maintain. And so when I graduated that next year, they had an opening, and I just took it because I didn't really know what else to do, right? I just took the job because it was open, and I worked in that department. But even though, I always like to point out that even though my entry into technology was a little bit more traditional, there are so many opportunities today for more non-traditional ways to break into the field. And, especially for those who already have established a good work ethic and are maybe just thinking about a career change. There are so many, companies out there, for-profit, non-for-profit companies that will help with training and skilling. And when I hear people say, oh, I don't know if I could do that, I always like to remind people that you probably have a lot of transferable skills that will allow you to succeed in tech, and you just need a little bit of training to get there.
Mm-hmm. So what does a day in the life of your title entail?
Yeah, so I would say, we didn't really talk about how I got to Edward Jones, so maybe I should touch on that just a little bit. But I would say I don't really have a typical day, but let me put some things in context for you that maybe will kind of explain some of my comments about what I do. First of all, I wouldn't call my journey that got me into Edward Jones as any kind of straight line. I didn't, like I've said before, I never really had a plan. And I would say my career, which has been long, I've been doing this now for well over 35 years. It's been kind of a zigzag, and I've worked my whole career in a variety of roles across a variety of companies, across a variety of industries. And I stress that word variety because I think that's what has made this career so fun and interesting for me. And when I talk about a typical day, it's the variety. I started out as a programmer, more that back end technology. Mm-hmm. That included working for a while on database systems, which kind of opened the door to a role in data and database administration. And that kind of led to business intelligence, which kind of led to analytics. All of these things, while I never had a plan, one door kind of opened another. I've been a developer, I've been an architect, I've taught classes, I've done program management. And in some of those cases, I was reached out to or asked to try something new. In other cases, I saw a gap or saw an opportunity and just jumped on it. Mm-hmm. But I think what kind of led me to where I am today is I raised my hand often for things that I didn't know I could do, which was kind of scary. But I think once you do that a couple of times, you say, okay, I can deal with the unknown. I can deal with the ambiguity. And I know from a historical perspective that I'm likely going to land on my feet. Somewhere along the way, I got into leadership. I don't even know how long ago that was, maybe 20 years ago. And that was also by accident. I think I always told people I wanted to be in leadership when I had career discussions, but to be honest with you, I don't know why, if I thought I was supposed to or if I thought I really wanted to. And then one day I had a boss who was going to be put on a temporary assignment, and I was asked to lead the group while they were out. It was supposed to be temporary, but he never came back, and I got the job by default. Again, purely accidentally. And I remember feeling, oh, first, what have I done? I don't know if leadership is what I want to do, and now I've got this job, and I really enjoy being technical. But I was able to still kind of dip my toes in technology from time to time, and that kept that part of my brain happy. But I really actually decided along the way that I liked leadership. I liked building teams. I was kind of good at it. And then that just kind of led me into, well, I really got interested in how to run IT as a business, efficient workflows and processes and work intake, and how to make developers more efficient on their job. And so that kind of led me into those higher levels. But like I said, my path has never really been straight. I remember one time feeling kind of burned out at one point with leadership and traditional, operational IT, which can be stressful at times, right? I got out and I tried software sales for a while, did that for a couple of years. But when I would go to meet with customers, I would start to look at them across the table and hear about the projects that we're working on, and I became envious, like, oh, I want to do that again. And so really realized that traditional business was kind of where I needed to be. But that experience was so good for me because it really taught me how to get in front of C-suite executives to have conversations. I think I developed a more polished executive presence through that experience. And I think it gave me the confidence to go for the higher level of leadership role that I'm kind of in today, right? I've been at Edward Jones for about 3.5 years. And prior to that, I had a similar role, but it was in a different industry, managed healthcare. And I was actually recruited by Edward Jones because of my experience with digital transformations.
Wow.
Oh, you asked me about a day in the life. I'm sorry, I just kind of got off track. But yeah, what is it? What is a day in the life for me? Again, going back to that variety, I don't know if there is such a thing as a typical day.
Right.
I feel like I enjoy a lot of the variety. But currently in the shared service organization that I lead, my organization has about 600 folks in it. That's kind of a mixture of associates and contractors, and we support things that include collaboration and voice services, cloud and platforms, data services, enterprise architecture, application services, which includes quality engineering, software security, and mobile. I lead leaders who are responsible for each of those areas, and then my peers are the other senior leaders that lead things in our technology organization, like data center infrastructure and information security, application development, that sort of thing. So as my role, what I do probably on a more daily basis is, our leadership team, we set the vision and overall priorities. I sit on steering committees. I work on special projects. I do attend a lot of meetings, and I prepare a lot of presentations. I do a lot of speaking, both internally and externally. I do visits with our internal customers, which is our field and branches, to kind of learn about their experiences.
Okay.
I network with other executives and vendors to do a lot of vendor management to keep up on new industry trends and things like that. At this level, I wouldn't say that I'm technical anymore. I don't do technical work, but I certainly provide a lot of steer and guidance for that work and remove blockers for other people.
So what's some career advice that you could share with our viewers?
Yeah, I would say, it's many, but first and foremost, I would say no one's journey is the same. And so I learned long ago not to compare myself to others, right? You're only competing with yourself to do better. Sometimes you have to go up or down or sideways or back and forth to advance. And sometimes you need to take a chance on a role or an opportunity that you might not know where it will lead. And all of that is okay. Treat every job as if it's the most important role at the company, and earn the trust of those around you by being authentic, transparent, and most importantly, competent at what you do. And your brand and reputation will get in front of you and lead to other things. I mean, for me, that variety of roles and that variety of working at different companies and different industries has helped me, I know, tremendously, and it's kept me marketable. And that getting comfortable with change and that confidence to raise your hand and try new things even when you're not sure you can do it. And then the biggest thing that I have learned every day is to be resilient, right? Things aren't going to go your way. And so you just need to pick yourself up and brush yourself off and keep going, and always associate with people who value you and don't ever tolerate a toxic environment where people don't.
That's amazing advice. Amazing advice. And I sometimes think that even though we know that, we don't always take it. So it's very good to be reminded of that. How do you think we inspire more women to get into tech? Maybe that young lady who's graduating high school and thinking about where am I going to go, or someone who's midlife and thinking about a career change.
Yeah, it's so true. We need to really get in and start working with girls early, grab their attention that this is a good field, because there's so many great things about it. I was talking to somebody the other day who was talking about her company. They've started adopting elementary schools where they are going in and teaching tech to girls at a young age. So by the time they reach high school, that peer pressure is not as great. We need to teach girls and women at every age, right, that it's okay to be smart, and you can still be girly and be smart. And and in tech, it's an even playing field. You don't have to be strong. I mean, there's nothing that men bring to the table that makes them better in tech than women, and vice versa. Women are better at tech than men. But I think it's important to stress to women that there are so many different roles. I think people get hung up on being coders. Coding is not for everybody, but there is so much more to technology than just coding. If you're good at art and design, and you have an eye for that, there's user experience and design roles. If you're organized and like to task manage, there's project management. If you like to solve problems, there's coding, there's security. Security is the world of information security is so hot right now, and there's so many roles just in that security space alone. And tech is evolving every day, and as it continues to evolve, there's going to be new roles that we haven't even thought of yet. Right? And there's so many perks to this field. There's a lot of stress in tech, right? But there's a lot of perks. You can literally do most technology roles from your bedroom, from your vacation home, and you can do it at times that are convenient for you, right? That can give you a lot of flexibility for work-life balance as you go through different stages in life. And I truly believe that women should strive to be financially independent. That's important to me. I think it should be important to most women. And the financial rewards in tech are good. Salaries are higher than they are in many other fields. So it's such a great field to get into.
I look at the women that are anyone that we place in our company, not just the women, and I look at what they studied and what their salaries are going to be, their new jobs, and I'm like, wow, I missed the boat on that one. And it kind of inspires me to want to think about going back to school and taking a look at it. But
you can do it.
I have two nieces. One of them's on a full ride to college right now, so she's got that trajectory ready to go. And one's a freshman in high school, and I'm like, we're going to go into tech. And she's like, no. I'm like, no, let me tell you. And so I'm planting those seeds with her as well, very early, hopefully, to inspire something there for her. But I'm always blown away by it. And it is an even playing field. If you're smart, that's who they want. If you can do the job, that's who they want. So I love that. Well, what inspires you? And it doesn't have to be work or technology or anything like that. Just what gets you going?
I think inspiration comes in different places at different times in your career. Right now, I'm on the tail end. I'm looking at so much of my career behind me. And so when I get inspired about things that I want to do next, I really get inspired when I see leaders who lead with purpose, and I'm hoping that purpose in part has something to do with giving back to the community and society, and people who then go walk that talk and do that. And it's not all about them, and it's not self-serving. It's just really kind of giving back for, a lot of the luck and, benefits that you've had along the way. So that inspires me to try to do the same. And so right now, as I'm thinking about all of that, I'd say that's what inspires me the most.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend time with us here at How She Got There. And everyone, if you liked this episode of How She Got There, hit subscribe so you don't miss any more. Bye, Jill.
Bye. Thanks, Jamie.